Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Spontaneous Sunday. My name is Aaron Shows, and I'm here in Los Angeles, California on this Sunday evening. How are you all doing this evening? So we had a opening there that took us to Egypt. That is the Bangles, 1980. Oh gosh, 86, I think it says here. With Walk Like an Egyptian. And that's the first time I've been able to sort of utilize that scale, which when you take piano, you learn about the harmonic minor scale. And we're kind of conditioned to believe that sounds like something from Egypt. And so I rarely get to use that. So that was kind of a cool way to incorporate that into this song. As with the title of that song, tonight's theme is walking and running. So we've got songs on both ends of that spectrum. The thumbnail for tonight's image, or for tonight's live stream, if you saw, was a sign that says "Walk, don't run," and everyone's running behind it. So that's where we are. It's just nonsense. It's just spontaneous, and that's how we do it every weekend here. So before all that, the opening lobby music that you heard going into all this may have been a bit confusing because it's usually not in that tonality. So you may not notice this, but every week when I have music playing before I begin, or music at the very end of the program as an outro, it usually ties in to the theme of the day in some way. And that one in the opening, I don't think anyone caught that one, but the opening one was the song "You'll Never Walk Alone." But you usually think of that song in a major key. But I took that and did it in a minor key. Anyway, so a little bit of a different take on that, a little bit of a Latin feel to that one as well. So always listen to those and see what kind of connection there might be. I try to hide little Easter eggs in there for you. So anyway, all right, so moving along here, the next one I'm going to do for you is from I believe the 60s. It is The Ventures, and the song is one that I learned when I was taking guitar lessons in, I think, middle school probably. Let's see, where is this? So when I was in middle school, this would have been 2000, 2001, around that era, I had guitar classes, and in those classes, we learned a bunch of things at the time. We had a bunch of just exposure to different time periods and different kinds of music. And this is one of the songs we learned actually going into that. So this is a song called "Walk, Don't Run," 1960. I hope you enjoy. That is The Ventures. Walk, Don't Run, 1960. I thought it was in the 60s, and it is in the 60s, but it was, realized it was actually 1960 itself. All right. Well, that is the theme tonight. So we have songs about walking. We have some songs about running, but mostly about walking. So I guess this prepares us for summertime when you're around the poolside and you're not supposed to be running, I guess. This was kind of our intro into summertime, I guess. That's how I'm gonna have the angle for this for the evening. So, all right. Well, on that note, I want to see who's here in the chat for the evening. And we've been going for about 20 minutes here. So let's go back and see. From the top, looks like Cam was here, at least in my chat first. Hello, Cam. Brooks is here saying hello to Cam. And I have 3 Cams in this room. Anyway, yeah, it's a stupid joke. Jerry, hello, Jerry. He is in between airport gates in Chicago. Well, thank you for tuning in, sitting there in an airport in, I'm guessing, O'Hare, which is one of those places that people don't like to go to because it's a crazy airport. Anyway, I'm glad you're listening. Thanks for being here. Paul is here. Hi, Paul. A few blocks away. Brooks is here in Utah. Hello, Brooks. Welcome. Georges is here. Hello, Georges here in nearby in Southern California. Good to see you. Jim Castagnet is here. Hello, Jim. Welcome. This is a good group tonight. Gerald Long. Hello, Gerald. Thank you for being here. Wow, this is a good group tonight. Thanks so much. Triangle Carpet. Okay, Triangle Carpet is Brad. Hello, Brad in North Carolina. Good to see you. It's been a little while. Thanks for being here. I think I mentioned this last time. Brad was a former landlord of mine when I was living in North Carolina. Great guy, great landlord, and it was an amazing time for me because compared to what I live in now, I actually had like a house to live in, and now I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment. So it's changed when you go to a big city. But Brad was amazing. Thank you, Brad, for being here. Matt Leach is here. Hello, Matt from Northern California. All in the same time zone with Georges as well. So thanks for being here. Lena is here. Hello, Lena. Also North Carolina. My mom is here. Hi, Mom. All right. And Beth is here from church. Hello, Beth. Welcome this evening. All right. Kristen's here with Cam. Hello, Kristen. All right. Hope you're having some apple pie, maybe, with or without cheese. That is our running thing. That's a good thing I should ask the audience here. Is this a thing that the rest of you do? This is gonna be part of the ongoing thing between Kristen and I. So, Kristen, if it's okay mentioning this is one of Kristen's things. If you have apple pie, she says that you have to have a slice of apple pie with a slice of sharp cheddar cheese, or is it extra sharp cheddar cheese? It's either way, it's sharp or extra sharp. Is that something that the rest of you all do? Say in the comments if you do apple pie with sharp cheddar cheese, or if that to you sounds weird and gross, as I thought it sounded. I have tried it, however, but I want to hear what you all think in the chat. So, apple pie with cheese or without cheese? Yes. All right. On that note, let's move along here. I want to keep us in the same kind of era. This song is from the 1960s as well. This is 1963. The song is by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Well, they didn't write the song, but this is one that they made popular. And of course, with Frankie Valli, you think of falsetto, high-pitched stuff. And this one was a big hit. And I heard this recently. I want to say I heard it in a movie, but I can't quite remember what movie it was. In any case, this is Walk Like a Man. There it is. That is Walk Like a Man. I hope you're all singing along the walk as the background part, the Four Seasons there. All right, let's see how the poll goes with the apple pie and cheese. Let's back up here. I was seeing some people comment on such things. All right, let's see if Kristen wins. Let's see. I see the first one from looks like Jim wrote cheddar. Okay. All right. Well, there's a for cheese. Kristen votes for herself. Okay, absolutely. That's cheating, Kristen. um, Jerry, no cheese, please. Lena, apple pie, no cheese. Brooks, no cheese. There we go. Beth, she'll try with cheese next time. See? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. My mom says ice cream is better. I agree. Ice cream is definitely better. Um, Georgia says cheese is good, but with ice cream is, yeah, delicious. Mm-hmm. All right. So there we go. Yes. So I have tried this. I have tried with the Germans would say mit Käse with cheese, and it's okay. I'll put it that way. It's okay. I don't hate it. I don't think it adds enough for the hype of having sharp cheddar cheese with it. But you be your own judge. I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do. But Kristen says with sharp cheddar cheese. I say, eh. I say a la mode. I say ice cream. What do you think? All right. So I saw a request from, is it Matt? For the 1980s, maybe we could have Walk This Way. I like that one. I didn't think about that one, but I might have a lead sheet for that somewhere in there. I'll look for that in just a second. And I think I saw one from, was it Beth earlier, that asked for Walking on Sunshine. Well, Walking on Sunshine is my closer for today, so I've revealed that secret, but I will get to that one for sure. That's a great one to end. So before that, yes, Walk This Way. I think I've got that somewhere in my files. I do. All right. Walk This Way. Steven Tyler and Joe Perry. All right. 1975. I thought this was 80s as well, but 1975. Aerosmith. Yes. Actually, I remembered while I was playing that last one, I remember what movie I was watching from this one. This is probably a film that many of you have not seen. It's quite a dark film. So currently I'm actually every week watching a film of score by John Williams that people don't think of. And he's scored a lot of films over the years. And this has been sort of just a personal, I've been watching on my own every week, films by him that aren't it's sort of in the limelight. And I've gotten through a bunch so far. I've watched Towering Inferno, among others. And yes, he scored that one. He also scored Poseidon Adventure and Earthquake. So talk about those disaster films. But there's a film from the 90s. I have some coffee here. Film from the 90s with Brad Pitt and Brad Pitt and Robert De Niro, among others. Kevin Bacon's in it, called Sleepers. And if you haven't seen it, it's one of those films that kind of just, your jaw is hanging open the whole movie because it's just so dark and wow, this is happening. But yeah, Sleepers is a John Williams score, and in the opening of that film, they play Walk Like a Man. So I watched that a couple weeks ago, and that came back to me. I thought, this is what I remember it from. So yeah, I'm going through a bunch of John Williams films, films that he scored, and there's one called Black Sunday I want to watch about the Super Bowl. There's a lot of films that he did. Fitzwilly is one he did with Dick Van Dyke. So anyway, if you don't know the lesser known John Williams movies, that's part of what I'm doing right now on my own. So feel free to join me in revisiting some of these things that no one's really thought of, apart from, everyone thinks of Star Wars and Indiana Jones and E.T. and all that stuff, but there's a lot more out there. So that's a tangent I didn't need to get into. Looks like there's some super chats. Brooks sent a super chat. Thank you, Brooks. And Jerry sent super chats. Thank you, Jerry. This is amazing. Thank you all so much. Wow. Thank you. All right. Well, I had a request for Walk This Way. Oh, I just saw Cameron's thing there. Yes. So this was my joke about a la mode, which would be ice cream, obviously. But in terms of music, there are modes in music, and they all have names. You have things like Aeolian mode, Ionian mode. I've mentioned before Lydian mode, very happy. Mixolydian mode, so that's Lydian mode, not at all, but Mixolydian mode is a mode. And so with a la mode, technically would be the same as A minor because in solfege, or you talk about, do, re, mi, fa, sol, that's the Sound of Music stuff, solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Well, la, re, mi, fa, sol, la, a, la mode. So it's a la mode. That's your a la mode. Anyway, ice cream apparently is A minor. That being said, let's do some Aerosmith. Walk This Way. All right, that's Walk This Way, Aerosmith. I like that one. That would be a good one on the organ, actually. That might be something to try in future weeks. Aerosmith on the pipe organ. Has that been done before? I don't think it has. And it should. It all should. Thank you for that request. I appreciate this. That was really cool. Yeah, good song. I'm glad I had that one also in sheet music as well. All right, so next thing I want to do, I want to try something different. We're in June now, and I said that when we were in June, I wanted to try some new things on the stream. This one's going to be just a very rough trial version of this. We're going to do more. I think I'm going to do more just flashy versions of this, I think, hopefully later on with just some more visuals on screen. But this is just me talking today, so it'll be a rough trial. You're all here for this. I want to see how it goes. So this is not really part of the theme, but seeing as this is spontaneous, we can do whatever we want, right? So I thought I want to poll those of you that are in the chat while I'm playing the next song to write in the comments, don't do it yet, but write in the comments a note name. Now, this would be A through G. You know, if you write J or Jerry's favorite letter, H, yes, H. If you write that one, I won't be able to do that. But A through G, just write one of those and pick whichever one you want. And I think after this next song, I'm going to try and improvise a song based on your suggested pitches in the order that I see them in the chat. How does that sound? It can be you can repeat things. It's okay if someone before you wrote C and you write C as well. But in the next song, write some things in the chat, some letter names. Now, I'll only pick 7 of them in a row because, you know, I don't want to do 7. I don't want to do 17. I'd rather have just 7 pitches just to kind of make a melody. We'll see what happens. It might be awful, but it's spontaneous, and this is the whole point. You're risking things to see what happens in the moment. So when I'm playing this next one, which is going to be a Dionne Warwick song, actually Burt Bacharach, R.I.P., this is a song called Walk On By, a very casual song. And so while I'm playing this, write in the chat a letter name of a note, and we'll see what we make after this song, a new song. All right, here we go. That is Burt Bacharach's Walk On By, 1964. Dionne Warwick sang that one as she did many of his songs. So I love that song. It's just a nice, it has a nice groove to it, but the words are very much just like, I'm done with you. You know, you look at the words of the song. If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry, each time we meet, walk on by. Make believe that you don't see tears. Just let me grieve in private. Because each time I see you, I break down and cry. Walk on by. Don't stop. Walk on by. It's just like, get out. But it has this really nice, just very, I don't know, almost like a, just very relaxed, you know, atmosphere to it. But the words are just like, leave me alone. So anyway, it's one of those songs that Dionne sells so well. She just was so good at sort of embodying these songs. All right. So I mentioned, yes, this new trial. We're going to see how this goes. All right. So I'll see how many in the chat have written. Oh, Bill Rady's here. Good to see Bill. Good to see you, Bill. Thanks for being here. And Rachel, my sister's here. Good to see you, Rachel. Thanks for being here. All right. Let me back up here and see when this all began, all this nonsense. It looks like not too far back. That's good. Okay. I just saw a comment from Bill saying Depeche Mode versus Dorian Mode. Yes, Depeche was a mode, and it still is a mode, I guess, but was made in the 80s, one of the modes. All right. So it looks like Brooks wrote B flat, which is C, so no cheating there. That's what you're going to make it. You're going to get a C. All right, so C is first. Cam wrote F. Jim wrote A. Georges wrote G. I'm sure because of your name. You've got two of them. Kristen wrote A flat. So I'm gonna have to decide the flats and charts because otherwise you could just be all over the place and it will get 12 tone. I want to make this thing kind of just in a key. So we have C, F, A, G, A again, and then Bill writes D flat, which I'm taking as D right now because. All right, and then Cam wrote another one. Cam wrote C again, so you don't get to do two. My mom wrote B. All right. All right. Lena writes B flat. So I might make the B's all B flats. So we have C, F, A, G. Kristen writes A flat, but I'm making this A because it's going to be able to fit. Otherwise, they're going to be really out there. I like B flat, so I might do. My mom said B. I'll make that B flat, and Leah said B flat. So, all right. So the melody is this. All right. There's no way to resolve this, but we can figure it out. All right, so this is a melody that you have all created based on your suggestions here, and we'll figure out how to make this into something. So, all right, C, F, A, G, A. So in the future, by the way, I'm going to have this on the screen so we can all see it and see what's happening. But all right, I may resolve back to C, but we'll see. We'll see if I resolve back to C. All right, here we go. All right, what a great melody. That actually worked pretty well. Yeah, it by itself doesn't have a whole lot of where it's going, but that's kind of what you get when you have random things like that. But in that tonality, very, I don't know, it's very emotional. Very good. So thank you all so much. That's a really pretty piece. Now, and like I said, in the future, I want to do more of this kind of stuff where you all have an input on something that we make in real time and see what happens. And it won't always be slow and it won't always be ethereal like that. But yeah, so there you go. A brand new song that you all created just based on input and random note picking. So yeah, so it'll probably be in the future on screen, and it'll be again. You can pick the note names, and based upon the order of things, I'll have to find a way to make it fit into a key by adding a sharp or a flat to the same note name. So it'll keep your note name, but anyway, that worked well. If we had two B's at the end, it's not as pleasing, but you just a little shift. Salvation is just a half step away, basically. Anyway, all right. Thank you all for that. That was cool. We'll do more of that in the future. And we have this recorded now, which is great, so we can go back and hear this again as it is live. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see, what do I have next here I could do? How about a couple more for you? This next one is a song that I guess I think of Nancy Sinatra singing this one. And if you know what I'm talking about with her hits, this is one of the big ones from her. So this is called These Boots Are Made for Walkin'. Not Christopher Walken, by the way, but it could have been made for Christopher Walken, but I don't know how anyway, I'm getting off a tangent there. These boots are made for walking. Here we go. These boots were made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. All right, one of these days, these boots are going to walk all over you. Okay, well, that's going to be the end of the program. I've got one more for you, and we mentioned this earlier in the broadcast, and that one is by Katrina and the Waves, and the song is 1985, and the song is "Walkin' on Sunshine." Now, this is again not Christopher walking on sunshine, but maybe he is. I don't know. I guess the theme of the night is that. So, yeah. So we'll end with this one this evening, and then next week, before I get on with the song here, next week I have I guess 3 broadcasts. So back in February, I did my first Cathedral Ambience Live, which is just an ambient video performed live, and so we're at that 4-month since then time period. So I'm going to do another one this coming Friday. So in the morning, it would be 11 a.m. my time, but we'll be wherever you may be in the world. I guess if you're East Coast, it would be 2 p.m., and then the rest of the world, you can figure that out from there. But yeah, so I'll have an ambient video live, so I'm just playing organ very quietly, very calmly for an hour. It's just kind of for relaxation. You can take a nap, you can close your eyes and think, but it's nothing really exciting. It's just calming. So I'm playing one of those on Friday, so be here for that. Saturday is my second Saturday of the month live stream for the European audiences, so that'll be Saturday at 1 p.m. my time, so East Coast would be 4 p.m., and then figure out the rest of the world from there. And then Sunday, I actually won't be here in person, but I'll have a video for you all, just like I did last time, where we can enjoy things together without me being here live. But that's 3 opportunities next weekend for listening to me play in some aspect, and then we will be back to our normally scheduled broadcast in the following week. But yeah, so next weekend, Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific. Saturday will be 1 p.m. Pacific. Sunday, just like today, as usual. So, but Sunday will not be live. That's the only different thing. It will be a video for you all to enjoy. So there you have it. Yeah, so we'll get on with the last one here. This is Walking on Sunshine, and we've had a good walk through tonight's program, and not a whole lot of running, but we'll do a little bit of running, I guess, in this next one. Maybe a little bit if we get the right tempo. So anyway, thank you all for being here. Thanks for the super chats. I appreciate that. And I look forward to checking back with you all this week. I hope you enjoyed the videos. Last week I posted a video on, last Sunday for one, and then I posted a video on Wednesday of me playing back in January at Galway Cathedral, playing Feed the Birds because of Richard Sherman's death last weekend. And then I posted another video from a previous live stream on Friday of me playing It's a Small World, another Richard Sherman song. So it's just interesting that in the last few months I've been playing his music in my live streams and just for fun. And I got to meet him when I first moved to LA, and so he was a big influence to me, just getting me, motivated to not give up and just keep going, because out here is a lot of musicians, obviously, and you're in a big pool, and it was just great to meet him. And it's sad that he died, but I always say when musicians die, we have their music to live on, so we can carry on the legacy through their music, and this is what we do every week here. So don't be sad. That's the idea. Just be appreciative for what they gave us, and it'll live on. So on that note, let's go walking on sunshine. All right, everybody, that's Walking on Sunshine, Katrina and the Waves, 1985. Thank you all so much for being here this last hour and change. I hope you had as much fun as I have this evening, and that is a great song to end with, and it just cooks the whole way through, and took you through all the different key changes there, so I hope you enjoyed that little exploration. All right, well, on that note, I will see you all this week, again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Pick your time, any of those you want to, same bat time, same bat channel, all of that. And thank you for all your support, and have a great and safe week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.